My life was a fortress of words. I'm a corporate litigator, which means I get paid a ridiculous amount of money to argue, to find loopholes, and to weaponize the English language. My apartment is a sterile glass box in the sky. My food is delivered. My relationships are efficient. I don't do messy. I don't do vulnerable. I am a brain in a suit, and that's exactly how I like it. My body, however, finally decided to object. I was in a fender bender. A guy in a plumbing van was looking at his phone and rear-ended me at a stoplight. It wasn't even a big deal. A crumpled bumper, a cracked taillight. I wasn't injured. I told the cops I was fine. I told my partners I was fine. But a week later, I couldn't turn my head. My entire upper body, from my skull to my shoulder blades, had seized up into one solid, agonizing concrete block. I was living on Advil and rage. Finally, my firm's insurance arm, seeing a potential lawsuit, forced me into physical therapy. "Go to this guy," the case manager said. "He's weird, but he's a miracle worker. Get your mobility back, or we can't sign off." The miracle worker was a guy named Theo. His clinic wasn't a clinic. It was a small, quiet studio in an old brick building that smelled like lavender and cedarwood. There were no clanging machines or fluorescent lights. Just a few massage tables, some yoga mats, and a wall of plants. Theo himself was the physical opposite of my stress. He was tall, lean, and moved with a slow, deliberate grace that immediately set my teeth on edge. He had a calm, quiet face, a mess of dark, curly hair pulled back in a bun, and the most observant, unsettlingly patient eyes I'd ever seen. He wore a simple t-shirt and linen pants. He looked like he'd just stepped out of a yoga retreat. "You're Adam," he said, his voice a low, calm rumble. "The lawyer." "Yes, I'm here for the whiplash. I've got about 45 minutes before my next conference call. If you could just, crack my neck, give me some exercises, I'll be on my way." Theo just looked at me. He didn't smile. He just nodded like I was a fascinating, very loud, very confused insect. "Okay, let's start. Lie down on the table. Face up." I did. The table was heated. It was annoying. "Now just breathe," he said, his voice quiet. "I am breathing," I snapped. "No," he said, placing his hands lightly on my shoulders. His touch was warm and dry. "You're not. You're just vibrating. You're in your head. I need you to be in this room. On this table. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unlock." I was about to tell him I didn't have time for this Zen babble when he gently, but firmly, pressed a single thumb into a spot at the base of my skull. It wasn't a sharp pain. It was a deep, electric, searing ache that I felt all the way down to my fingertips. My whole body tensed up like a steel cable. "And we're in," he whispered, almost to himself. "That's it. That's the one." "What the hell is that?" I gasped. "That," he said, not letting up, "is the last 5 years of your life. It's not just the car crash, Adam. The crash just rang the bell. You're a fortress. I'm just knocking on the door." Our sessions were a new kind of torture. He wasn't a chiropractor. He wouldn't just fix me. He was a body worker, a massage therapist, something frustratingly holistic. He'd spend an entire hour just working. Slowly, patiently, methodically, trying to convince my muscles that they weren't, in fact, under active assault. The whole time I'd talk. I couldn't help it. Silence made me nervous. I'd fill the space, talking about my caseload, about the idiot junior associate on my team, about the stress of an upcoming deposition. I was building a new fortress of words, right there on his table. He'd just listen, his hands doing their slow, agonizingly precise work. "You talk a lot," he said one day. "It's my job. I'm a litigator." "It's your armor," he said, his thumbs finding a knot in my shoulder that I didn't even know I had. I inhaled sharply. "You think if you keep talking, I can't find you. But I can. You're right here. You're loud as hell." I hated him. I hated how he could just see me. He'd undo a week's worth of tension, and I'd walk out of his studio feeling weirdly lightheaded and floaty. And then I'd go right back to my office, sit at my desk for 12 hours, and by the next session, I'd be a concrete block again. "This isn't working," I said about 3 weeks in, lying face down on the table. "I'm still in pain. We should just try the exercises." "The exercises won't help until the foundation is fixed," he said, his voice a low, patient hum from somewhere above my head. "Your muscles are in a constant state of brace for impact. You can't build strength on a foundation of terror." "I'm not terrified," I scoffed into the headrest. "Aren't you?" He placed his hands on my upper back. He didn't move. He didn't rub or knead or press. He just held me. His hands were wide and warm, a steady, unmoving pressure that wasn't asking for anything. It was just there. Adam, he said, his voice just a quiet vibration. I need you to shut up. For 10 minutes. Don't talk about your case. Don't plan your rebuttal. Just be on this table. And breathe. That's the only job you have right now. I opened my mouth to argue, to tell him I was paying for his hands, not for silence. But I was so tired. So I shut my mouth. At first, the silence was deafening. My brain was screaming. The Anderson brief. The 4 p.m. call. Did I email back about the quarterly report? You're still talking, he whispered. I can feel it. Your shoulders are up by your ears. Let them go. He started to work. He moved from my back to my neck, to the scaling muscles that I didn't even know existed. And as my brain finally started to quiet down, the physical feeling took over. It wasn't just pain. It was a deep, profound, aching release. He found a spot, and not just under my shoulder blade, that felt like it had been there since I took the bar exam. He just held it. He didn't try to grind it out. He just held the pressure, steady and constant. And then the fortress broke. I didn't sob. I didn't make a sound. But a single, hot, unexpected tear rolled out of the corner of my eye, hit the paper on the table, and was gone. It was an involuntary, physical response to a pressure I had been holding for a decade. It was the most vulnerable I had been in my adult life. I was mortified. I tensed up, bracing for him to say something, to ask me if I was okay. He didn't. He just kept working, his rhythm unchanged. But a moment later, as his hand moved to my other shoulder, his thumb gently, almost imperceptibly, brushed the tear track on my temple. It wasn't pity. It wasn't sympathy. It was just acknowledgement. I see you. It's okay. I think I stopped breathing. In that one tiny, silent gesture, he had disarmed me more completely than any opposing counsel ever had. When the session was over, he left the room as he always did, giving me a quiet, take your time. I sat up, my body feeling like it wasn't mine. It was light. It was loose. My brain was quiet. I felt calm. It was terrifying. I walked out into the small, sun-drenched waiting room. He was there, sipping a cup of tea, looking at a plant. He looked up at me, and his eyes were just kind. Here, he said, handing me a small, steaming ceramic cup. Ginger tea. It's grounding. I took it. My hand was actually steady. I started, but the words wouldn't come. My usual arsenal was gone. You don't have to say anything, he said, smiling a real, warm smile. You were finally quiet. It was nice. I cleared my throat. It was. We just stood there for a minute, in the quiet, sun-filled room, drinking our tea. So, I said, and the words that came out were not the words I had planned. Do you like Thai food? I know a place. It's loud, and not very relaxing. His smile widened. You're asking me out, lawyer? I'm presenting a motion, I said, a small smile of my own starting to form. For a potential joint venture. Over dinner. Well, he said, taking my empty cup. In that case, I'm not opposed to a discovery phase.